Mediocre Disc Golf Podcast, an average podcast for the average disc golfer. As always, I'm Evan Amstutz, joined by Kim Hatcher. We're happy you could join us. Kim, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. This weekend kicked my butt. I've kind of been trying to just take a mental break, take a physical break, and kind of just I don't want to say it in a bad way. Like I feel okay after this weekend, especially after my last round, but like kind of
Mhm.
reevaluate everything again. Like it was a big tournament with some big names and just kind of like remember why I love the game, remember everything, and also where do I go from here in a good way. No, all good things, all good things.
Yeah, you played in the pro weekend of Throw Down the Mountain.
Yep. Yep, and the course definitely was a was a toughie. Let's just say that. I definitely, after talking to Sarah a couple weeks ago, I've definitely been trying to think of courses and like what is an FPO course and like all of that, saying like the biggest thing was if we not we, sorry, if MPO is playing and they're throwing a mid or a fairway on a hole, we should be throwing a mid or a fairway on that hole. And that really has
Mhm.
changed things. And I really feel like the course design at Throwdown, it needs some tweaking. It needs a lot of
Mhm.
tweaking. Let's start with that. At the end of the tournament, after round three, after the award ceremony, me, Natalie, Rebecca, and Lauren, we all played. Mike Barnett came up to us and was chit chatting with us
Mhm.
about like the course and everything. And
Mike
we all
Barnett
had
is
some.
the tournament director, owner of Sun King, just massive individual in the sport.
Yeah, way to come up with the credentials. Good job. He was asking us some of our opinions. There's 1,000-foot hole on the course. It's beautiful from the tee pad. You can
Mhm.
see the basket from the tee pad, and you're like all the way up there. And there was a lot of like ideas being thrown around about that hole in particular. It's 1,000-foot hole. On round two, it played over 3 strokes over par or something like that. So
Wow. Yeah, I saw that the a good portion of the FPO field was taking double, triple,
it
quad.
was the problem is the initial shot is so difficult.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna say that, and it's okay to say that. Like it was a very hard shot. But if you could throw a beautiful shot in your first throw, you've got it set up for the par. For
Hmm.
par though. And if you don't have it, then you're screwed. Like
Right.
through and through. Because truly, if you make it down, you can kind of get in the area where it's a little open on the left. That's your first throw. You can get your second throw past that tree on the right. That's kind of like where it pinches a little bit. If you can get
Hmm.
your second throw there, your third throw, you've got probably a three. I think it's 300. I've thrown that shot before.
Like when you're right at the base of the hill going up,
Yeah, it's about 300.
it's 320 because
That sounds right.
that's how far we played to the top of the hill, and there's 320 plays like 370, 380 with the hill.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much because I was able to be within like 40 feet from that pinched off area, and I don't
Okay.
throw 380. I threw around 360. So
Hmm.
maybe it could be around that. But if you could throw perfect, 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 you could get the birdie. But
Hmm.
even if you just get that initial one, getting the par is pretty simple too. Because if you're short on that throw from the pitched off area, you can still like lay up and get your par. But if you don't get off the tee box, you're not taking par. And that's what made the hole so freaking difficult. And
Hmm.
I don't know.
So you know that bowl area to the right, like halfway down the,
Yeah.
what if, just based on our conversation with Sarah Holcomb, what if for FPO that hole is a par four where you tee off from the same spot, but instead you're playing to that bowl to the right? So that way there'd be a basket that is generally out of play for the MPO guys going up the hill all the way to the par five, but it's still a demanding tee shot followed by a pretty solid shot into the bowl, or you could still scramble and make the par, but birdie is actually feasible.
Honestly, that was the thought process, and that's what me, Natalie, and Rebecca were talking about with Mike Burnett was how do you make there's like three different ways to make that hole better. Make it a
Hmm.
par six, which not a fan. Not a fan. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
a
don't.
fan. That doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
The second thing is your idea, which actually honestly didn't even think about that. Get a different different basket location. And
Mhm.
that your idea kind of puts it out of the way because no one really goes that far to the right.
Yeah,
So that
if you
would
do,
work.
you're already scrambling. Like you're already
Yeah.
out of, you're way out of position if you're in that bowl going for the par five.
Exactly. And then the third idea was move the tee pad up, but you take away the throw down the mountain. So,
Yeah, I can see that hole being honestly pretty ezy if you aren't throwing down
yeah.
that cliff.
But
That
you
picture
also need
from
a
the
thrower.
tee,
Sorry. Go
that
ahead.
picture from the tee is my work desktop background. It's that and
Stunning.
then a picture of TPC Sawgrass for the Players Championship. So like that is where I put that equivalent. Like it's a gorgeous, probably
Oh yeah.
if 18 wasn't there, by far best hole on the course for the pro weekend. I
Yeah.
hope I get to play it at some point.
But like it's not even just that hole. There was 6 holes on round one that were not birdied. There was 9 in round two. Round two was rough for everybody, but like
Mhm.
and then 7 in round three. Like I feel like and I'm not even counting ones that were just like birdie by one person. Like those were
Mhm.
absolutely none. Like birdie by one person, like that's a good amount of the holes. And I just feel like that shouldn't be happening with FPO. Like, don't even get me started about hole 18. Hole
Mhm.
18, round two, played almost 5 strokes over par.
Is that one where you want the FPO field to be playing like from the lower? The 18 is tough because I think that is, oh, I might get in trouble. I think it's kind of a gimmicky hole, but in like the most beautiful way possible. Like you're
Yeah,
throwing to an island fairway and then you're throwing up this sheer cliff. It can get bad in a hurry
it can
because
get bad really quickly. Yeah.
you're throwing from OB, then you're throwing up across OB. Like I took an 8 throwing essentially one bad shot my first
Yeah.
round at it.
My worst was a 9 on round two, and that's because I didn't make it. I not only did not make it down, I didn't make it up. So
Yeah.
that was that was pretty rough. But I'm trying to pull it up. I think the worst I took was a 9, but I think the worst other people took, let's see. I see a 10. I see a 12 and two 12s
Yikes.
and nines. Like it just was
It's a tricky hole though, because
it's
like
tricky.
if you throw two great shots, you are very much rewarded because that is strokes on the field.
Oh, 100%.
It's almost like, and I wonder if the throwing up to the top is OB because of the danger. They don't want people trying to climb up the side,
Yeah,
throw from the
it's
side,
exactly
all
it.
that sort of stuff. That's probably why it's OB. But I just don't know. I wouldn't want them. This is dumb. I wouldn't want them to change that hole in any way.
Exactly. Exactly, right? Like
Maybe
it's such
maybe
a
18
cool
is
hole.
just maybe 18 is just that outlier where you know that it's going to be tough. Like I would
Honestly,
get butterflies sitting there at the tee when we were there. Like
make it a
it's
par
that,
five.
make it a par five. You could do that, but the three's gettable
Not really. Not really.
for
Not
I guess
really.
for FPO.
To
It
get
might.
close enough to get the 3, you're
Mhm.
pushing that OB for us girls. Like Natalie and I can throw pretty far. We were
Mhm.
probably the two furthest throwing. We played our practice round together, Natalie and I. So our I could tell my distance was pretty much was close. I wasn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not a pro level athlete quite just yet, but like I was keeping up with her very well.
Mhm.
And at the distance where we felt like we could throw up the mountain, so like that, like if you did the math, like that 350, 370 distance, that like we
Mhm.
could probably really huck one up there, we're near the OB line.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
you're
we're
up.
or we're in the OB line. Like there's no it's so freaking tough to find that sweet spot position.
Hmm.
And if you're not there, you have to lay up.
Yeah. But also making it a par four kind of tempts people into like,
Maybe the
I don't,
boys, not the
yeah,
girls.
that's fair. Yeah. That that's interesting. I think there are some changes that could happen. Did you hear anything about what Paul could be doing? Because this is, for those who haven't heard, this is the course that Paul Macbeth and White Sox pitcher Dylan Cease purchased.
I heard some rumors he hates five with a passion. I've heard he just walked up to five and was like, yeah, we're getting rid of this hole. For those who don't know what five is, I call it the ace run hole because during AM weekend, it's like super short right in front of you.
Yeah,
Pro
I almost
weekend,
aced
it's
it
to the
2 out of
left.
3. Hmm.
It's a cool-ish hole, but if when it's in the left position, it quite literally is a poke and pray because there's so many trees, like to get through it all, you're like, oh wow, I can't believe I did that. So he's thinking about getting rid of that. I've heard rumors of him reversing that. Not sure how true that is. And honestly, not a vibe. I don't really like that idea, but I guess it could work. I just feel like four ends pretty, not pretty decently, but that's the walkway from four. And
Hmm.
then is that nine? Nine is right there on the left, the tee
Yeah.
box.
Hmm.
So it just seems like a lot of things are happening in that area. And I don't know if a basket's a good idea up there, but
Yeah, because then you
yeah,
also have people walking out from 8 to 9
yeah.
and walking down from 5 or from 4 down to 5. There's so much that they can do. There's so much I don't want them to touch.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I've heard that there's gonna be some weekends in May. They're gonna keep throwing out open so you can go out.
Okay.
So that'd be cool to if you missed out and you wanted to play some of the courses. It's gonna be open for a couple weeks in May. I know the Tampa Disc Golf Club was trying to get out there. They had made a post about like what should we do when it's open. So
Yeah, I
pretty cool. Pretty
saw
excited.
Mike Barnett might be running a USDGC doubles qualifier out there.
That'd be cool. That'd be
So,
cool. Well, and yeah, there was also in the MPO division, a lot of young guns who were challenging
mhm.
Paul. Like Paul definitely came out with the win. He did great. But there were some young guns that made put some pressure on Paul. It was actually really awesome to see.
Yeah, and Johnny McRae still had it. He had an okay first round, bad second round, and a very good third round, like to get himself kind of back in contention. I might have those rounds backwards, but he didn't. It wasn't like all 3 great rounds, and he was still up there fighting for those top 5 spots. Johnny had a really good week too.
Yeah.
But I don't has Paul I'd love to know this. I wish we had Statmando. Has Paul ever lost throw down the mountain when he shows up?
I don't think so.
That's a pretty
He didn't
awesome
show up
record.
in 2020 and he didn't show up in 2021, but he was there last
Yeah, he
something
was there
like that. There was
last
a
year.
gap. There's
Hmm.
a gap here, but yeah, for I don't think he's lost. I saw that posted somewhere.
That's awesome. And Kim, as our resident Discraft player, what do you think of the Zone OSs?
I I got mine in the mail because I'm on the underground team, and I was like, first of all, this thing is pretty black disc with a Wonder Bread stamp. Ooh, money. Pretty pumped. They're going on pre-order right now. If you go over to the disc shop, you could pre-order your disc. Do you know what the drop date is?
I don't actually.
So I don't. The Zone OS is pretty nice. We were talking about it. We've been taking it out every time we play for just no other reason other than just to have a funsy disc. It's kind of like a tilt in a sense. When you throw it harder, it flips faster. Not flips. Is that the right term?
Fades.
Moves, fades. Yeah, it does things faster. But if you throw it lighter, it actually does have some glide where it's like, oh yeah, like so. It's very interesting. I'm personally not bagging it. It's a little too deep for my lady hands.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not gonna bag it, but Josh keeps putting it in his bag, so I think he's gonna bag it. But other than that, see, no matter what though, if you check out the disc shop, you can pre-order them now. They did come out with the numbers. It's a 4215. Sounds about right. Pretty deep. So if you got big fingers, you're gonna like it a lot. Like it'll fit nicely in your hand, kind of like a Get Freaky-ish, but more because Get Freaky is a pretty deep zone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really great disc. You could use our code
MDG pod.
I knew what it was. I was going
Nailed
for
it. Sorry.
Nailed it. So check it out. After this weekend, I definitely have been rethinking a lot. And I'm gonna eat my words a little bit. Before I mentioned, I was like, oh, I'm rated really high. Like I don't feel right playing FA1. But after these past couple weekends, my rating's gone a little down just because I've had some really rough weekends. I don't get to play that often with my work, with my job. So I play 3 to 4 days a week and then I take 3 days off because I'm traveling. So I think I might go play AM Worlds this year.
Yeah.
I signed up for it in a mood and I was like, I think I should go play. I mean, I think after this ratings drop next week, I'll probably drop to like 904. That's what I'm guessing. Probably 903.
Sorry, had to.
Yeah, I'm sandbagging. I'm trying to go back to no, no. I wish I had some better rounds, but I'm working through it. I feel like it's just that downward go before you climb up, and I'm okay with that. I'm enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the people I play it with. So I think I might go play AM Worlds. If I'm at 904, even 903, I'm 4 points higher than the girl right now in AM Worlds, who's the highest at 899. So like, it's not like I'm going out there like 950 rated, going, yeah, I'm gonna play AM Worlds. So
right.
I don't know. I've been if anybody feels like reaching out to me and like chit chat about it, like I'd love to chit chat about this. Like, when do you go up and all of that? Like, it's something that I'm still confused about. Like, where do I fit in, really? So I think I got to talk to my job though and get those days off, which is going to be an adventure, but we're going to figure it out. But yeah, I really want to go play. If anything, I just want to go watch Josh because I know he's competing, but that's definitely something that's been on my mind lately. So
yeah, I think that's something that we can talk about in future episodes is when to move up, not just from AM to pro, but within the different divisions, maybe even before you hit the rating ceilings. Because that's what I did is I moved up well before I hit the rating ceilings, just to challenge myself and kind of the benefits and some of the drawbacks of that. Because it is, especially when you're competitive, like you and me are, I think that is something that is hard to fight of like, oh, I beat this person at league and they play in this division, so I should go play that division. And it's like, sometimes you need to get knocked on your ass to figure out where you need to be, or if you need to take a step back, take a breather. But it's an important conversation to have with yourself because you can burn yourself out if you're in the wrong division. Not saying that you're in the wrong division, but you need to. I'm glad that you're taking the time to reassess and maybe take a step back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm just taking a step back and going like, I don't get to play a lot of tournaments for FPO right now. And like, why not go play FA1 at the high level? It's a high competitive level. It's not like I'm going to go to a local
C tier
tournament, and just like balling it in FA1. But I don't know. I'm excited, and it's nice that I can talk about it here with you and like have other people listen in and give their opinion because I do want to hear what other people see. Not quite their opinion, but like, what's your view? I guess what you're saying. Is that the same thing?
Not your opinion, but your opinion. Yeah. No doubt. But I know you had a rough weekend. I know what always makes things better.
Ice cream.
Yeah, that's a good one. Didn't think about that. I was going for dyed discs. I was going for a smooth transition into the interview. But I mean, ice cream's still a good answer.
That's usually my winning thing. Josh would be like, if you make this putt, we'll go get ice cream after this. I'll be like, oh, yes.
Oh, really quick before we jump into the interview. When a lot of you guys will be listening to this, my wife and Kim will be playing in the Queen Bee Bash. And so I have hundreds of people holding me to this. I told Morgan that if she shoots plus 18 bogey golf in any round, she gets ice cream.
Oh, baller. Everybody, let's root Morgan on. I'm so pumped. I'm actually not going to play. I you haven't noticed, I'm sick right now,
Oh
which is
no.
probably from throwdown, from exhaustion. But I'm just going to be a very awesome tournament director because Lo's the head tournament director. I'm just her little assistant baby. I'm just going to be hanging out at the pavilion, and I'm really pumped. And if anybody really wants to get in that tournament, you have a wife, a sister, a friend, anybody who wants to play, a daughter, because we do have some junior divisions. If you want to jump in, let Lo know. Lo is also Lauren Campbell, if you didn't know who Lo was. Let us know. We'll get you in that tournament real quick. We're at 50 people right now, and we could definitely use more. We could squeeze you in. So just let us know. And it's an amazing tournament, and it's all ladies. So super comfortable, super good for people with their first one. Like, this is Morgan's first tournament.
Yep.
And my mom's playing. It's my mom's first tournament. She is so excited. So if anybody's listening to this and wants to come hang out with us, we're going to have a wonderful time. And then we're going to get milkshakes afterwards.
Yep. This is in the DeBerry area, just outside of Orlando. If you are listening to this on a release date, April 7th, you will have like 12 hours to sign up. So at that point, just go ahead, take a look if you're interested. Should be a great event. Looking forward to it.
Let's get on with this interview. I'm pumped.
Hell yeah. Let's bring on Brandon from Spike Hyzer Dyes. So this week we're excited to have on Brandon from Spike Hyzer Dyes. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Evan. How are you guys?
Doing well. Excited to have you on the show. Always
living the dream.
Give you a shout out. We appreciate you sponsoring the show, sponsoring Hoffy's Heaters. We'll get to that a little later, but wanted to bring you on, talk about how you got into disc golf, how you got into dyeing, all that good stuff. Maybe share some tidbits that aren't maybe trade secrets. Get our listeners into dyeing.
Secrets. I want to hear all the secrets, so that way only Mediocre disc golf podcast fans know how to do it. That'd be cool.
If I told you that, then I'd have to kill you.
So how'd you get into disc golf?
So when I went off to college, I would come back in the summers, and my brother and I we'd pick a random activity and kind of get hooked on it for the summer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my freshman year we bowled, and next year we shot pool, and we were trying to figure out something the year after that. And we were walking through Dick's and just so happened to see a whole bunch of Frisbees, with some pretty cool looking, what I know now to be stamps on them. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, oh, we could try that. So we both picked the one we thought looked the coolest, and that was kind of the inception there. We took
probably a Corvette.
No, this was back in like 2019. It was a race.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like I think it was a DX Wraith, so it was one of the cooler Wraith stamps at the time. And of course, I didn't know what it did. Yeah, we went to the local elementary school, and we were just kind of tossing them around. Kind of made like our own object course, because we didn't really know there were courses or anything just yet. And if we had, I don't think we wanted to go make fools of ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's how a lot of people start.
I will say it was a little justified, because after about 3 trips to the school, I put that race on top of the elementary school building. That's awesome. Never to be seen from again.
Oh, it's probably still up there. It is probably still up there. It
very well could be.
Oh my goodness. Yep, definitely still up there.
So what got you into dyeing?
So sorry. I'm going to have a hard time getting through this
slowly.
episode.
So I didn't really start playing consistently until probably about 3 years ago. I was playing for about a year before COVID happened. And then COVID happened, and our local course is at a city-run park. So they had shut the park down for a while, and we weren't allowed in. And I'm an architect, so I'm fairly artistic by trade. So I was kind of using the time to marry the two things that I like, design and sports. Yeah. I just happened to come across somebody's Instagram. Somebody had dyed a disc, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Let me try that. And I tried it, and well, turns out it wasn't that bad.
First go, you were like, ooh, I'm pretty good at this.
No, absolutely not. It was a steep climb.
What did you start out with? I feel like everyone starts out with shower cream. It's not sour cream. Hold on, get in there. Shaving cream.
There you go. Ding ding. I did. I started out with shaving cream. Yeah, and that lasted me about 2 months, and then I was on to greener pastures.
That's funny.
Is that a technique that you go back to at all, or are you just on the the Floetrol?
I liked the shaving cream for what it was, but it's not super versatile.
Okay.
So once I realized that I guess I was capable of more. I didn't really want the material to hold me back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you even figure this shit out? Like, how?
That's a pretty good question. Now there's about 101 tutorials for whatever you'd want to do in dyeing a disc.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Google machine is your friend.
Google machine is your friend.
Back when I started, there really weren't a whole lot of videos. You kind of just stumbled through it, figured it out yourself.
Yeah.
So a lot of trial and error.
Well, what's your favorite method? Do you have a favorite method?
I actually like to do spin dyes the best, similar to that Athena you got from me.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like I have a spin dye somewhere.
The blue one with the chartreuse circle on the edge. I remember.
Yeah.
I was doing it right here in the corner on this record player over there.
That's so okay. Well, now that's another question. Record players are expensive. Where the hell did you get a record player? And that you were willing to ruin?
Super, super cheap. I think I got this one on eBay for like $16.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the real good ones that you're talking about, the expensive ones, I don't have one of those.
Well, does it have to be electric? Does it have to be electric, or do you spin it?
It's electric. It would be
okay.
Pretty tough if I had to spin it myself. The big difference is whether it's kind of how the motor's set up.
Gotcha.
Whether it's driven by a belt or whether it's direct drive, kind of changes how much it wobbles.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Well, so if that's your favorite, like when did you start trying that out? When were you like, I'm gonna get a record player?
I started getting a record player pretty immediately.
Okay.
Only because when you would pull a disc out of a die, not that I have one in front of me to show, of course. I lied, I do. So if it didn't come out perfect on the edges, sometimes you would see the white of the disc or the color of the disc on the edge. So the first thing I would do is basically just use some black and make a rim and kind of frame the die to clean it up a little bit. So that's how it started.
That checks out. That makes sense.
Cool.
So it started off super simple as just kind of like a cherry on top.
Yeah, just to kind of clean everything up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a most hated method? Like you look at a method, you're like, garbage.
Lotion. I don't know what words I can and can't say on this podcast, but lotion.
He'll duck it out.
Yeah, it'll be quacked out.
A duck. That'd be great.
Why do you hate lotion so much?
Because it was the first thing that I tried after shaving cream.
Okay.
And I don't think I was experienced enough or had done enough research to know exactly how it worked. And so the medium just didn't jive with me. I'm really big on first impressions, and the first impression didn't go great. So I really haven't touched it since.
So you're like, trash.
Yeah, so that became my least favorite child.
All right, next question. Here we go. You've dyed probably hundreds of discs. What's your absolute like favorite dye? Nothing will go above this. This is the cream of the crop, my top tier, my favorite dye.
Man, I don't know.
Oh, that's stumped them.
That's a tough one. It's like you said, because there's been hundreds of them. Yeah. I don't think I've quite hit 1,000 yet.
There's got to be one that's like sticks out in your brain. You're like, damn. Even if it wasn't your favorite, like, damn, that was a nice one. Like something.
So the first one that I was like, okay, damn, this is a nice one, was on a Castoplast Rask. Really interesting disc if you've never felt one. It's got 2 rims on the bottom side.
Oh, is that shit? Yeah.
It's that one, yeah. I threw one as a forehand disc for a while. And I did a series of, they call them lollipop swirls. So they look like, the old school lollipops.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there were three kind of concentric rings, all with different colors of the rainbow, and the rings alternated directions of the swirls. So it was like super trippy if you would spin it.
Okay.
Trippy.
And I actually ended up sending that one to Simon
Oh, really?
just to have on his wall for his collection. So there's a couple of YouTube videos where it's in the background
Oh, that's
Okay.
so
as he's down there
cool.
going through his collection.
Yeah, I'll have to
That's
go
so
look
cool.
around for that then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go deep dive. Be right
Every
back.
time I would watch one of Simon's videos, I absolutely took a screenshot.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Every
You
time.
have to. I still do that. Like if I I don't know, if I watch like old stuff, I'm like, oh look, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think your Harry Potter ones as of late have been really cool. Your glow,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
I guess it's the glow technique, or you're using a glow dye. Those have been really awesome.
Yeah, you've got like two Harry Potter nerds over here. We're
I
fangirling.
appreciate that. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I remember back when the books would come out, I always had pre-ordered the books,
Hmm.
and I would stand in line at Toys R Us, dating myself a little bit there, to get the book on the day it came out.
Wait, what's your Hogwarts house?
Ooh, I haven't gotten into the game yet.
Just tell how you feel. What calls to you?
Oh, Gryffindor, easy. Yeah,
Gryffindor? Basic,
anything but
that's fine.
Hufflepuff, really.
Hey,
Wow.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Ooh,
I
I didn't mean to
feel
send shots.
attacked. Oh my god. All right, this interview is
Friendly
over.
fire.
Done.
So no Hufflepuff based Harry Potter dyes in the future. Got it.
Gosh.
Well, actually,
wow.
there's one that I've been working on. It's basically like the Hogwarts crest in the four. It's got all four houses divided.
That's
How do
awesome.
how do you do a stencil die? Those have fascinated me. Like the idea that is it truly just exactly what it says? Like you put a stencil, but like what do you put on it? Do you paint it?
So you start. Either you can be a masochist and you can hand cut it. I have done absolutely none of those. Or you can get a vinyl cutter
Okay. Okay.
and basically take the stencil. And a lot of times you can grab like I like to use like coloring book images.
Okay.
Like I've done some Frozen themed dyes, some other Disney stuff for friends, kids, and stuff.
Yeah.
And you take the coloring book page and you bring it into an editing software and you kind of like soften up the edges and make it more clean so that the cutter can understand, so it doesn't have a heart attack
Checks out.
when you
Checks
try to
out.
put it in. And so you have your stencil there, and then you apply it to the disc and remove the parts that you want first. Typically, you remove the black parts first because once you dye a disc black, you can dye whatever color you want on top of it, and typically you don't see it. So, just an example here is I'm working on a stained glass on a clear
Okay.
disc.
Uh-huh.
So I cut off the portion that was the actual crack in the glass, and then left the void where I want it to seem like a hole in the disc.
Yeah.
And left that vinyl on there. So now I can dye
Ah.
around it and then remove that last piece, and then you've got a dye and then a clear space and a clear disc.
So do you paint it though? Like, so you cut it out. That makes a lot of sense. But like,
Yeah,
you paint it. Oh,
you can paint it. Some people like to paint with lotion and let
yeah.
it sit, but lotion requires like 24 hours. If you want it to be a little quicker, you can actually use a laundry detergent.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Has a higher water, I guess, water concentration.
How does that work? Do you have to tape off the entire disc? Isn't that going to get it's like kind of like you're stenciling it? I need a play by play. You need a play by play.
Well, typically when a lot of us like to cut the stencils on 12 by 12 sheets. So you'll wrap the complete back of the disc. So unless you royally mess up, you're not getting the dye on the back of the disc.
Okay.
That being said, I've royally messed up once or twice.
Yeah, I was about to say, have we done that? Okay, good.
We have. We don't like to talk about it, but we have.
All right, no problem.
So how do you come up with some of the ideas that you have? I mean, we tell people to go to your Instagram all the time, but every time I go there, there's such a variety in styles and approaches. How do you get a lot of requests, or is it more of, I'd like to see if I could figure this out, like to try this and kind of challenge yourself?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
If you see anything that's a stencil, I definitely didn't want to do it myself. Somebody requested that. Me and vinyl, we just don't get along too great, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else, maybe I'll see something that somebody else did, and instead of trying to see if they did a video about it or somebody else did a video about it, I want to see if I can figure it out.
Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Kind of the architect background.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you still do that, or do you do disc? Do you die on the? Do you die for? Do you die as your main job, or do you die on the side?
I'd be real hungry if dying was my main job.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah, there's a couple people that do it, and I appreciate their steadfastness. But I do it as a hobby. It's one of those things where it's not one of those hobbies where you sink a whole bunch of money into it and you just lose all that money.
Yeah.
You know, once you get to a certain caliber, it kind of recoups itself. So it's a self-sustaining hobby. And at the end of the day, it basically pays for the few tournaments I'm able to go and play a year. Like
Oh,
it'll
that's
cover
pretty
my
cool.
travel expenses and stuff. You know, especially if I'm able to go and vend to the tournament, similar to Savannah. You know,
Yeah.
I like to have a break even where I've got to sell this many discs before the tournament's paid for itself.
Okay.
Good point. That's a
But I
good
would
point.
not suggest it if you're discing on a budget because it costs a lot to get there.
Ah, good thing we did not bring you on last week then.
So if, let's say, one of our listeners just wanted to start dying, where do you
Good
think the
question. Good
best
question.
place for them to start, best medium for them to start would be?
I consider it to be a rite of passage to do it the way I did it and do it the way that those of us that started at or slightly before the COVID boom.
Mhm.
I feel like you have to start with shaving. It just has to happen. You have to
Okay.
try it and you have to mess up a bunch and then you can move on. If not, I think you're kind of cheap.
Okay. That makes sense.
Little bit of a hot take there, but a lot of people will start with Floetrol because there are such detailed videos out there about it that you can literally buy exactly what they say and do things in exactly the way they said to do it, and you're going to get a result that's miles better than somebody who just started out, 2 years ago.
Okay, but is that one of those things where, yeah, you got a cool disc out of it, but you've missed the steps to understand why it worked and how to translate that into your own designs further on down the line?
Yeah, I think there's a lack of understanding or a familiarity with the way that the mediums behave. Because just simple, like what I do the most, not necessarily my favorite, but what I do the most is beds with clear glue.
Okay.
And I've bought probably 50 gallons of clear glue, at least. Like I've got a couple right here. And every time you buy a gallon, the consistency is different. I could buy a 4-pack of this Michael's glue, and not a single one of them is going to be the same.
Interesting. Huh. I didn't think about it like that.
So then from there, you're kind of learning how to react to the different consistencies and within the different mediums. You're
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because then you drop the dye onto the bed, and if it's more runny, it's going to disperse more, and you have to learn how to control it. So there's definitely some things that take some patience, where you can get a certain amount, a certain quality of a result just starting if you've got an A to Z tutorial.
Mhm.
But those pro tips are the things that you don't learn unless you do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah, you got to try it yourself before you actually understand. Is there a technique out there that is becoming very popular, but you kind of think, I'll tee up
Tell
for
us
a
about the
hot take,
hits. Yo,
take
us a hot take.
but you think is kind of overrated?
Ooh,
Ooh,
do I have one to show you?
Yes.
No, because I don't do those.
Overrated. Go. What's overrated? I'd love to know.
To me, I find the chameleon cell dyes to be overrated. Not overrated, but kind of overdone. Those are the ones where you're pulling some glue across, or not some glue, some Floetrol across, and you are then basically manipulating the cells on purpose instead of it being a little more organic. And it becomes a very rigid structure with a defined webbing. And personally, to me, that takes some of the, I don't want to say mysticism out of the process, but I don't
Art.
want to be able to inject so much control over it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That particular medium.
Yeah, part of the fun is seeing what comes out on the other side.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes sense.
That checks out. Checks out. So that's the most overrated. What would you say is like up and coming right now that you're also vibing with? You're like, oh, that checks out.
I'm not sure as far as up and coming. I wish the spin dyes would catch fire a little bit. Because I like to do those. I find those to be cathartic. That's what I'll do. Late at night when I can't sleep, I'll come and just listen to some music and chill out and do a bunch of spin dyes.
Okay.
That's cool. That's really cool. What made you want to start like a business out of it? Like you found it, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, like I can sell it to some friends. What made you want to go, like, all right, let's make it a name. Let's actually like sell this. Let's set up, I'm saying booths, but like in reality, you're like at a table at the disc golf event. Like what made you want to go to that?
So I don't know what necessarily made me switch over to it being a business per se, because I feel like you have to make more money than I do for it to be called a business, or at least a successful business.
Nah.
But yeah, I think the first time I had dyed a couple of the first dyes I did were Mako 3s, and I was not good at the time, so of course I was not able to throw a Mako 3 very well. I was like, of course it had to be the disc.
Yeah, it's definitely
like,
the disc. It's definitely.
These are about to go in my trunk and never be seen from again. And a guy was walking by and he was like, "Hey, I'll buy those from you."
You're
and
like,
I was
ooh.
like, "You got a deal," because I was about to just throw these in the lake for fun. And I was like, I didn't even have to try, and that guy wanted to buy that.
That's a good point. Like it kind of like someone came to you almost. Like you didn't have to like put yourself
and then
out
so
there.
I was like, so I did a little digging, and I was like, oh, people are actually selling these. And I had bought, I had commissioned a guy to do a set of 3 discs for me, and he was kind of the first Instagram that I saw that kind of got me into it. I commissioned him to do a couple, and I got him back, and I was like, oh, I could do that. I paid for this, and I could do it.
I could do that.
So I guess it was my own frugality a little bit that was like, if I can do it, then I'm sure I can figure out how to sell these.
Yeah, I feel like
it started off with just a couple.
I feel like you're competitive. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking 100%. Because you're like, I can do that better. That sounds like such a competitive thing to feel, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's weird to be competitive at something so subjective.
It's dying.
It's not a sport. I grew up doing martial arts, playing baseball, playing golf, and it was like, if you're playing golf, if you don't have the lowest score, you don't win.
Yeah.
But you could see 10 discs done by 10 different people and have 11 different opinions.
Yeah.
That makes perfect
100%.
sense. Are there any, like, how do some of these techniques get pushed forward? Have you seen kind of the progression since you've been in since about 2019? Have you seen new techniques kind of come out? Or what am I trying to say? Have the mediums kind of been the same the whole time? Or are there a bunch of people out there like, oh, let's try clear glue, let's try shaving cream, let's try, I don't know, some other weird thing that you think might not hold? Or is it kind of down to a science now?
I think a lot of it is science. And you've got 90% of the field are the people that don't want to spend the money and the effort to be the pioneer.
Yep, that checks out.
So you've got the guys that sink the extra resources into making something better, or kind of trailblazing a little bit. And rightly so, they try to keep some of that stuff close to the vest.
Yeah.
So there's a select few pushing it forward. A lot of the same techniques and mediums kind of carry over. Every once in a while you'll see a guy say, well, I tried to make this with spaghetti sauce. And I don't know why he tried it, but kudos, I suppose.
What the heck? Oh my goodness.
True story. I wasn't even making that up.
I don't know how you were like in the pantry, you're like, I need a new disc golf idea. I might as well make some dinner. And then Like, oh, I could use the pasta sauce. That's a new one. Like, I would love to have been inside that kitchen for that.
So, do you want to do our Hoffy's heater for
Yeah, you
this
want to do
week?
the heater with us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ah, dude. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
All right, this read's gonna be a bit weird because Brandon's here. Brandon is
Yeah, but let's act
Spike
like he's
Hyzer
not
Dyes.
here,
No
though.
pressure.
Okay.
Let's act like he's not here.
I don't know how that's gonna work. But
You
we'll,
do it,
we'll
rock
figure
it.
it out. Well, now let's move into our fan favorite segment of Hoffy's Heaters, brought to you by our guy Brandon, Spike Hyzer Dyes. This is where our social media manager, Matt Hoffman, has 90 seconds to give his hot takes on things no one else is talking about. Maybe for a good reason. Let's find out what he has to say this week.
I'm pumped. Can't wait. Here we go.
I've been warned. This one comes from the heart.
This week on Hoffy's Heaters, we're going to be talking about something that is just really starting to get under my skin. And I've noticed it at the pro level. I've noticed it at the rec level. I've noticed it at the MA4. Even at weeklies, it is time. 30 seconds to make a putt, 30 seconds to throw, whatever the timing is, I think we need to change it. I think there's some people who abuse time, and there are some players that we like to name, like Nico LaCastro, Gannon Burr, but also I'm starting to see more and more people in the rec level and in the non-competitive level just abuse time. And I don't want to be the person who calls time in a casual fun round, but when our rounds are now almost doubling the time length because of what's going on with the people on our card, I'm saying something needs to be done, or some stigma of being a rule stickler needs to be addressed. And I think within that, we got to understand that there are only times when we work on time and it just doesn't work anymore. I think we can move. I think at a pro level, we should move time down to 20 seconds to make your putt, except for a wind gust. I think if a wind gust comes, you should be able to reset. You should be allowed to have a couple of resets within your round. But I think at the end of the day, time needs to be addressed at both the MPO level and the AM level, because I'm sick and tired.
All right. I think it sounded like a good time to cut that off. I don't know what he was about to say. All right, Brandon, what's your reaction there?
So I do think the idea of time is an issue, but I don't know if it's as much an issue of people maybe taking too much time as it is more of a perception of them taking too much time. Recently in the Ken Climo interview with Brody and Yuli, Ken kind of explained it pretty well. As you have 30 seconds, but it's 30 seconds once you've marked your disc.
Yep.
Before that, you've got an acceptable amount of time, I don't know the exact terminology used, to survey the shot you're about to take. And I think that's okay.
Is that in the rule book though? Is that like?
Yes, it is.
I think it is. He almost quoted it verbatim. Like, you can take a minute to survey your shot, your lie. If you're in the middle of the fairway, I don't think you should be able to use more than 30 seconds to get ready to pick your disc and everything.
Yeah.
But if you're deep in the crap.
See, like at Throwdown this weekend, I've been really working hard on actually taking my time. I'm usually a really fast player. And at Throwdown this weekend, I had looked at Josh and been like, am I taking too much time? And he actually said yes. But his reasons now don't make any sense, because his reasons were like, yeah, you were always the back of the group. Everyone would pause and they would wait for you to get to your disc. And I was like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, they always walk ahead of me. I'm just a slow walker, I guess. But that makes sense. That technically I'm not breaking the rules. I haven't gotten to my freaking disc yet.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But at the same point, you saw where your disc landed.
Yeah.
If you've got 2, 3, 4 pro level 500 feet before you walk to your disc, you've already got a minute and a half to kind of have an idea of what you're going to do next.
Yeah, I agree. So is his heater more of the fact he thinks it's too much time, like he wants the game to be faster? Is that what he's saying?
So I was at the weekly that he's referencing that kind of triggered this, and after the round he looked at me and went, I know what my heater is going to be this week. This is more of a casual, the mediocre disc golf group here in Jacksonville gets together, and one of the guys just generally, no matter how casual the round is, takes like he marks his line, he lines it up, and he takes the full 30 seconds as if it's a tournament. Every single shot. And my group was the first group out, and the second group was the guy that's playing slow. We finished 4.5, 5 holes ahead. And we were all just kind of waiting around. And like, yeah, I think more what he's getting at, and I agree with him, is there's a time and place for playing slowly and playing deliberately. But when it's a situation where it's a course you played 100 times, the shot isn't too much different. You've lined up that tee shot 100 times, the wind might be a little bit different. So just change your disc and move on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's where he's coming from here. And I agree. I don't know if I necessarily agree with 20 seconds for the pros, because that's where money is starting to get involved. And if you made my job a little bit more stressful, I wouldn't be too particularly happy. But I see where the heart's at.
I get it and I don't get it. I get it because, like, yeah, some people take such a long time. I'm gonna, like, this weekend at Throwdown, I just felt like some ladies, maybe I was one of them, and that's okay if I'm one of them. I just like practice putt, practice. And I'm like, kept feeling like I was getting juked. And I was like, okay, like, I guess that's my personal opinion. I'll make sure, let me say that first. But like, it just depends. Stacy Ronsley, she's one of the FPO ladies on tour. She's from like Indiana. She talked about this. She posted on Instagram. I actually was pulling it up. So this reminds me of something. Last month, talking about time, because I guess she got called on a time violation. And the point of the rule makes sense. Like, we have to put time constraints, or we're going to have people who take 2-3 minutes to throw or putt. And I think we just need to have grace. Like, and we understand if it's windy as hell, give that person a second. When there's a wind gust, give them a second. But I get it. Comp conditions, you need to go. Like, I get it and I don't get it. Stacy made a good point about saying that, like, it almost should be a collective thing. I don't even know how you'd keep track of that, but like, if I take 10 seconds to throw on the tee, like, I'm literally like, oh, Zeus, boom, whoa. But then I get to my approach and I take 40 seconds. That should be okay, because I kind of use that extra time from my drive. So it's almost like you kind of need to just figure out the group. Like, if you're always a slow player, then yes, like, we need to get a little better. But if you're a fast person usually, but like, maybe the putt's not feeling good, so maybe you're taking a little bit extra time, maybe in that sense. But I get what he's saying. I don't agree, but I get what he's saying, and I think that's a very hot topic right now.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of liken it back to golf a little bit. I refuse to call it ball golf. But even like a casual round playing with your buddies, on a Tuesday afternoon, it doesn't have to even be Sunday, prime time in the morning. There's a ranger out there. If you've got a golf cart that's linked up, it'll tell you the pace per hole is 11 minutes or 13 minutes. If you fall behind, it tells you what the average pace of play is to kind of keep it moving. Especially if you're at a course that gets some traffic. And there'll be a marshal that'll come out and say, "Hey guys, you gotta pick it up. You got groups behind you." And I don't think that would be an awful idea, but it would have to be somebody, kind of a third party, somebody who's not on the card, but somebody who's just kind of overseeing the pace of play for the course.
Yeah.
And then from there, they go and talk to a specific card. And at that point, it's pretty obvious if everybody collectively is moving a little slow, or if you've got one guy that's like an anchor.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way that ball golf for disc golf listeners does it. Of if your entire group is slow, like, there's an acceptable amount of time that a round of golf takes. I think that is where disc golf needs to start going, at least starting on the pro tour, where you're generally playing 18 holes. The courses are kind of laid out similarly, where you say, okay, it's this round should take 3 hours. The TD has, I think this is where the PDGA needs to step in and give the TDs something, the tournament director something to like monitor, because you have to submit the scores every hole. Do something where they submit, when you hit submit scores for that hole, that starts the timer for the next hole. And the PDGA could even give the tournament directors a spreadsheet or some sort of view for them to go, hey, everybody gets to, like, let's say throw down the mountain, everybody gets to hole 8, and they take 30 minutes from when they submit their scores from hole 7 to submitting their scores for hole 8. Like, what is going on there? Is that one person slowing it down? Is one group taking a ton of time? Like, trying to figure that out, and that way they can go out and do the golf thing of, hey, you guys are taking too much time. This is a warning. If we have to come back out again, we're going to be starting to assess penalties. And from there, a marshal will be following you around, or assistant TD or whoever will be following you around. And if they notice that one particular player is the cause of the issue, that player will be specifically assessed penalties. Like if let's say you're in a card of 4 people, 3 people are hauling ass, and
one is Nico
LaCastro, then the entire card isn't going to get penalized.
That's such a cool idea. Gosh, I love technology fixes like that. Those are the type of ideas I suggest at work, and they all stare at me like, you could do that. I'm like, yeah, you can actually. It's really cool. That would be such a cool idea. And also just to get data on how courses react. If you ever, guys, Brandon, have you ever played out in South Florida?
Nope.
No?
Not yet.
There's a course called Markham. It's where the South Florida Open, one of the courses for South Florida Open, Paul was down there playing. And there is water along the first couple, then it opens up, blah, blah, blah. When you get to hole, I think it's 13. I'm not quite sure. I could be wrong. 13, 12. It's a big water shot, like water all left, pretty long, because you're along like a river, something like that. And then you got to go through this tunnel up to the right. It's a pretty tricky par 4 hole, even from whites, it's pretty tricky, but from blues, it's like, holy cow. We had a 45-minute backup on that hole. Yeah, because the MP40 were in front of the FPO group. Oh my goodness. Like, luckily the backup was right in front of the headquarters, so like we went shopped, or we just hung out with the tournament director, so like it wasn't awful, but like 45 minutes of doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's bonkers.
If we had that data, that'd be good. And I know there's not a lot you could do, like MP40. Sometimes you get guys who can throw really far. They're like MPO guys, but they want to play age protected. But sometimes you do have MP40 guys who maybe don't understand what MP means, or maybe they just don't want to play MA50, or maybe MA40. Maybe they had a bad experience. But like, that's a gnarly ass backup. Gnarly. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Circling back around a little bit to the idea of, penalties that can be assessed. If you've got 3 people hauling ass on a card and one person that's not, and it just so happens to be that one person is somebody who decided last minute that they were going to play 2 divisions above where they should, I think it could be something that would maybe mitigate an MA4 guy from playing MA1 just because he felt like it.
Yeah, that's honestly bringing it back to last week's hockey heater about ratings floors. That's a good point. Like, maybe that could be a good, I don't want to say
deterrent.
Yeah, maybe wake up call, like kind of just to say, hey, like, you're not ready for this. You're bringing, like, you get that alert almost, like, hey, not cool. I don't know.
Yeah, and then it's not your card mates saying, hey, maybe next time don't play with us.
Yeah,
but you've got it coming from a more official source, so maybe it has a little more weight to it.
True. This week at Throwdown, that almost happened. One of the girls took a very long time to throw, and it wasn't like she couldn't decide or there was wind. She put her foot behind the disc, and it felt like a whole minute before she threw. And at one point I looked at the girl next to me and I was like, she's getting close on time. We need to say something. And then she finally threw. But like, it's so hard being a card mate because a lot of the guys say this. They don't want to change the mood of the card.
Yeah. I think that's something that needs to change in disc golf culture, at least at the competitive level. I can see it being difficult in novice and rec because, I mean, I guess they got rid of those as titles for those divisions, but like that's the point of those divisions is either people who want to like be somewhat competitive, but more in like the fun, I'm here to play disc golf. But in like MA2 and MA1, that's where you're out there. Like if you're playing in those divisions, you're kind of out there to win.
Yeah, you're being competitive. Those are the competitive divisions, like, I would say. Even though you could be competitive in MA4 and MA3.
So. Yeah, I think with time in those, like my general rule of thumb is if I'm considering pulling out my phone to time you, you're taking a long time.
I agree. And if I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, ooh, this is a long time.
Like I'll probably say something. I call them my friendly warnings of like, hey, I'm saying this to you as a homie.
Yeah.
Like I've had to do that a couple of times, like in a tournament, someone just like super foot faulted, but it was because they had a weird lie. It's like, hey man, just next time super watch that. If you're on a weird lie, like maybe don't run up because that was really, really bad. But I've had to do that with time as well. Like, hey, like you're taking long enough that I'm considering starting to time you. Please don't make me be that person.
Yeah, it's so tough.
If I'm going to be that person, it's because you made me, and I want you to be aware that you are the problem, not me.
Yeah. True.
It's funny. And it might go back to me being as competitive as I am. I have no problem being that guy.
Yeah.
If somebody has to be that guy and the card as a whole is timid, I'll bite the bullet and I'll be that guy. Because
I feel
chances are if I'm showing up for a tournament, I don't necessarily care if you like me by the time it's done. My goal is not to go out there and make friends. My goal is to go out there and win.
That's true.
Yeah. I feel like it's tougher in the girl division because there's only like 12 girls who play FPO in the state of Florida. So
yeah, so you're seeing each other consistently.
Yeah, we're gonna hang out next weekend. So
yeah, when I got to Masters Cup, I don't know any of those people out in California. So we're gonna be just dropping time penalties left and right. I don't care. I don't know you. Probably never see you again.
Bring a stopwatch and a coach's whistle.
Please. I want to get penalty football flags, like, you know, the little sandbaggy things. I really want those because, like, when people for casual rounds, hold on 1 second. Let me say this: casual rounds only. I really just want to pull one out and just peg them at people from like taking too much time, football, foul, penalty. That'd be all you guys are like, I never want to play with Kim ever.
I think more of the air horn route would be fun.
Oh my goodness!
Right at 30 seconds on the putt,
right at 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
No grace period. Foot fault. Air horn.
Oh, air horn.
go through someone's bag. Illegal disc. Air horn. Oh, that is what I wanted to bring up. Let me do the finishing thing for Hafiz Heaters, and then there was a question. It came up on Facebook in the MVP fan page thing, and I wanted to ask you about it.
The Gyronauts?
Yeah, it's like the official MVP fan Facebook page thing. I can't remember what it's called exactly.
I avoid the MVP Facebook pages like the plague.
That's fair.
The Gyronauts?
We'll get into that. But as usual, Hafiz heater. It's quite the heater. And if you want a heater of a disc, go check out Spike Hyzer Dyes. Made by. I know that guy.
I know that
guy. I mean, as we've talked about, Brandon's creating amazing dyes for everyone to enjoy. You can check him out on Instagram at shdyes_DG and see what he has to offer in his shop or request something custom. Spike Hyzer Dyes, excellence by design. So the question I had for you was I saw some of these like UV printing or something like that, and how that was illegal. Like that was where this whole thing, it was phenomenal read as far as just entertainment value of people going back and forth in the comment section of whether it was illegal or not, because I guess it's adding material to the disc, which like then foils get weird. But like I was curious as to how dyeing remains legal with the you can't add materials to a disc.
Okay. Pretty easy question. A little bit of slow pitch there. So the issue with printing is you're adding ink to the surface of the disc.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the rule specifically, I couldn't pull up the the number and chapter and verse and whatnot, but it's that you're not allowed to add anything of detectable thickness to the disc.
Okay.
And so the way that disc dyeing works is when people ask me to do X, Y, or Z, they give me this green disc, and I say, well, I want to put purple on it because I like the Joker. And I tell them, well, too damn bad, because it works very much like finger painting. It's the same concept as finger painting in kindergarten. If you have
Okay.
yellow and you mix blue, unless it was a very aggressive blue, you're going to get some shade of green. And so if you
Oh,
try to take two secondary colors and mix them together, you're going to get brown.
My mind is
interesting.
being blown. Like, oh
And
my
so
gosh.
going back to kind of the how that works is that what we use is not a dye that was specifically designed for discs naturally. Most of them are fabric dyes. They're poly fabric dyes.
Okay.
So for synthetic tie dye and stuff like that, you can get them in any of your craft stores, and then there's some bigger companies online. But what you're doing is you're essentially altering the pigment of the disc. Similar like dyeing a t-shirt. You're gonna dip it in the water, but it'll be wet when you take it out. But you wring it out and dry it off, and you didn't make the t-shirt any heavier. You just changed the color of the thread.
Oh, that's an interesting
My
way
life is
to
a
describe
lie.
it.
The discs work exactly the same way. Like I had this white glitch,
Mhm.
and put some black and some mint on there, and I scaled it, and it didn't change the weight at all.
I want that disc. My husband wants that disc.
It's fantastic. It's mine.
Oh,
Because
seriously?
nobody would pay me the amount of money it costs for me to let go of it with how much I weeded every little individual circle.
Dude, that post that so we can share that. That thing is pretty. Oh my god.
It's on my Instagram somewhere.
Yeah, that's a cool one. It's interesting, the t-shirt analogy.
My
Okay.
mind is blown.
So you're just changing the color properties. You're not adding anything to it. And I've never thought about weighing a disc before and after dyeing. That's cool that you did that. Was that a personal curiosity?
It was personal curiosity, and at some point it was to have some ammunition for an argument. Somebody saying that, well, it has to add thickness. Well, it doesn't, and here's why.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that was the basis of people's argument. I think in this case it was illegal because it was like adding material, like it was how they were creating the watermelon envies with the seeds. I guess someone was going back behind and like doing is called UV printing, which I didn't understand that. But it's actually adding material to it, like something that you can feel. And said,
Yeah,
the big argument was, well, all these disc dyers are making all these discs and blah blah blah. But because what you're saying makes perfect sense now, why that's legal is because you're not adding any material, you're just changing the color of it.
yeah. Like if you were to go and buy some acrylic paint from the store and paint on a design, you can't use that disc anymore. If you can run your finger across and feel it, like I almost think that some companies' stamps are very close to in my mind being illegal. Because if I can feel a raised property in it, I don't know if it's just has to do with their particular heat press. Because even removing stamps, you can tell which companies press down harder because it leaves deeper indentations.
Right.
MVP specifically, it's a nightmare to put stencils on over top of MVP discs that weren't blank.
Be careful, the gyronauts will come after you.
I wish you
Don't
guys
even
could
care.
see the blank stare.
I was only conflicted because Simon is my favorite player, and I like Simon.
I love Simon.
A year ago, come at me.
Yeah, I love Simon.
Yeah.
We watch his videos all the time. He's great. That's a good question.
So yeah, I'm curious to know how Discraft, and I guess other companies, but Discraft is known for it the most, get away with the full foil.
Oh yeah.
You're adding a layer, like obviously the disc
Actually, I think
adds a thickness from a stamp.
I think there's an addendum to that rule of like it can't be the manufacturer can put that material on, but nothing outside of it, which I don't know then how like OTB does theirs. Like, does that count as the manufacturer or Infinite Disc doing the bomber stamp on an Innova disc? Like, that's a whole gray area, and that's was another side rant that was going on in that comment section. I highly recommend you guys go find that comment section. It was a blast and a half to read. There are way too many people way too mad about this entire conversation. But
oh yeah, definitely.
that's interesting.
There's actually a few disc dyers that have gotten a heat press and decided to kind of try their hand or put their own logo stamp on the bottom. Yeah, I use a rubber stamp.
Yeah, I got Josh a rubber stamp for our anniversary that says professional.
And they're cool,
disc golf.
And it's archival ink, so it doesn't wash off easily. But if you wanted to, you could take it off.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen issues with people doing bottom stamps. I actually played around with the idea of buying actually bought one and tested it a little bit. They call it a foil quill. So essentially it's a pen that gets really hot, and you take the foil and you tape it down to the disc, and you can basically freehand, and you take the hot pen and you're heat pressing whatever you want essentially.
And you have one?
That's super cool.
I had one for a little bit. I was messing around with it. On the underside of one of my A2s, it's the thing. It's like a beat up trash can lid now. But I was like writing my name with this pen and doing some designs, and depending on how quickly you ran over it, or if you let the heat kind of sit as you were going across it, change the thickness, like how much you could feel the foil on the disc. Science is fun.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
So cool.
Yeah, the owner of AGL Discs, when I met him, he has a couple of discs where he was learning how to do the hot stamps because he does all that himself. And there's a couple where he's almost burned all the way through, because he was just learning and he just tosses them aside, but he's always got a story to tell, and that's one of his favorite things is to pull out those discs that he just absolutely trashed. But it's part of his history as a manufacturer is learning how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's learning curves in everything, and we've all got them. Like after I decided I wasn't going to sell this particular glitch to anybody, I wanted the mint to get a little darker because I was searching for like the Castaplast first run mint color. And I thought I had found the right mix. And these glitches are like the Neutron soft plastic, so it's like Star, but it's so thin because they're 150 class. That when I hot dipped it, it's going to be really tough to see. I'm sorry for those of you that can't see it, but I waffled the top.
I see it.
Yeah.
So I basically had it sitting in boiling water, and the water had nowhere to go. So it was pushing up in a couple spots. And there's actually 5 equal circles. I don't know how it happened, but 5 bubbles along the inside of the disc that waffled it, made it a little less stable. So now I have to bag 2.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Well, Brandon, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Really, really interesting conversations. We want to give you some time to plug all of your stuff, what you got going on, tournaments you'll be at, all that sort of thing. Floor is yours.
Well, as you mentioned before, my socials, IG is @SHDyes_DG. You can pretty much put in Spike Hyzer Dyes, and you'll find me across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter kind of a little bit. I don't know if I should be offended that nobody's tried to make a fake account for me yet, but yeah, I'm the original.
All
So you
right.
guys can find me there. I'm signed up for a couple tournaments here around Middle Georgia, moving up towards the Atlanta area, but nothing too big. Yeah, just kind of staying local and doing my thing. And yeah, I
That's
definitely
awesome.
appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, it was an interesting conversation. It's fun. So it's always interesting to see people's reactions when you tell them something they didn't know about something that seemed a lot easier than maybe it is.
Yeah. Thank you for giving us the insight into disc tying.
Thanks for giving us the lowdown throwdown.
Kim, my mind is blown. They're not adding material to the disc. I know that sounds stupid because they're legal, but like the t-shirt analogy, I cannot get over. The dyed t-shirt.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, that was like a mind-blowing revelation of how it was actually working. And I think that's kind of what we were getting at in the very beginning of that interview of there's a lot of things that you can do where you just like, oh, follow this tutorial, buy some Floetrol, here's your chameleon cell dye. But a lot of these things that he was kind of referencing and talking about comes from a lot of experience. I mean, he's been doing that since 2019 and he's a fantastic dyer. So it was cool to get the insight he had and actually learn how it works, not just, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, oh, it's a pretty. Yeah, I feel that. Sometimes I look at dyes and I'm like, I don't even know how somebody does that. But it was also cool to get his take on the time thing. I feel like just hearing so many more opinions about time. Time.
Yeah, it's always fun to get other people's opinions on that, and especially a Hafiz heater.
Yep.
Well, that wraps it up for today. You can find Brandon on Instagram at shdyes_DG, Kim at Kim the Great, and me at Evan DG. Remember to follow the pod on Instagram at Mediocre Disc Golf Pod and on Twitter at Mediocre DG Pod. If you want to support us, buy our shirts on mythicdiscgolf.com and listen to us every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoyed the show, leave us 5 stars in a review, and if you didn't, still give us 5 stars and tell us why. We know we aren't perfect because we are mediocre. Have a good